and to my immaculate heart mediatrix between man and God. And thus the world will at least in part be saved. Cry out these things to everybody, like the very echo of my voice. Let this be known to everyone, because it will help to save many souls and prevent much destruction in the church and in the world. The Passion Ecstasy, April the 8th, Good Friday, 1955. Our Lady, beautiful and majestic, but with tears on her cheeks, spoke. My daughter, it is your mother speaking to you. Listen attentively and make known everything I tell you, because men, in spite of repeated warnings, are not returning to God. They refuse grace and are not listening to my voice. You must have no doubts about what I am disclosing to you, because my words are very plain, and you must transmit them to everyone. Dark and frightful days are approaching. Mankind is obscured by a thick fog as a result of the many grievous sins that well nigh cover the whole earth. Today more than ever, men are resisting the calls from heaven and are blaspheming God, while they wallow in a mire of sin. My daughter, look at my heart, pierced by the thorns of so many sins, my face disfigured by sorrow, my eyes filled with tears. The cause of such great sadness is the sight of so many souls going to hell, and because the church is wounded inwardly and outwardly. The rulers of nations make so much ado and speak of peace, but instead the whole world will soon be at war. All mankind will be plunged in sorrow, because God's justice will not delay in fulfilling its course, and these events are close at hand. The upheaval of the whole world will be tremendous, because men, as at the time of the deluge, have lost God's way and are ruled by the spirit of Satan. Priests must unite in prayer and penance. They must hasten to spread the devotion to the two hearts, that is, of Jesus and Mary. The hour of my triumph is close at hand. The victory will be accomplished through the love and mercy of my Son's heart, and of my immaculate heart, mediatrix between man and God. By accepting this invitation, and by uniting their tears to those of my sorrowful heart, priests and religious will obtain great grace for the salvation of poor sinners. Launch forth a message to the world, to make known to everyone that the scourge is near at hand. God's justice is weighing on the world. Mankind, defiled in mire, will soon be washed in its own blood by disease, famine, earthquakes, cloudbursts, tornadoes, floods, and terrible storms, and by war. But men ignore all these warnings and are unwilling to be convinced that my tears are plain signs to serve notice that tragic events are hanging over the world, and that the hours of great trials are at hand. If men do not amend their ways, a terrible scourge of fire will come down from heaven upon all the nations of the world, and men will be punished according to the debts they have contracted with divine justice. There will be dreadful moments for everyone, because heaven will be joined with earth, and all the ungodly people will be destroyed. Some nations will be purified, while others will disappear entirely. You are to transmit these warnings to everyone, so that the new generation will know that men had been warned in time to turn to God by doing penance, and thus could have avoided these punishments. From the Ecstasy of December the 8th, 1956. People are offending God too much. If I were to let you see the number of sins that are committed in just one day, you would die of sorrow. These are grave times. The world has lost all order because it has become worse than at the time of the flood. The forward march of materialism continues, marked with blood and fratricidal struggle. Signs that betoken ill for peace are now plainly visible. The chastisement is hovering over the world like the shadow of a cloud of evil portent, to bear witness to mankind that God's justice is weighing down on humanity, and that my power as Mother of God is even now keeping in check the outbreak of the hurricane. Everything is hanging as if by a thread. When this thread breaks, the justice of God will plunge down onto the world and complete its terrible purifying course. All nations will be punished for many other sins that, like a tidal wave of putrefaction, have covered the world. The forces of evil stand ready to be launched in every part of the world with bitter violence. The resulting upheaval will be appalling. So much blood will be spilt, and the church will suffer so much. The Pope, too, will suffer very much, and all these torments will be for him like a death agony, which will shorten his earthly pilgrimage. His successor will guide the bark through the tempest. Still, it will not be long before the wicked are punished. That day will be unimaginably horrifying. The earth will be convulsed, and all humanity will stagger. The dreadful severity of God's justice will exterminate the wicked. Issue a proclamation to warn all the people of the earth at once, if possible, so that they may return to God with prayer and penance. And from Good Friday, 1960, Our Lady speaks. My daughter, I am grief-stricken because peoples and nations are on the road to perdition, and materialism has pushed humanity towards a frightening abyss of ruin and death. How many innocent souls there are who find themselves caught up in a web of scandal. The world has become like a flooded valley brimful of debris and filth. I for some time now have warned mankind in so many ways, but they do not listen to my motherly admonitions and continue to walk along the road to perdition. Never, as in these hours of tragedy, has the world had such need of prayer and penance, because the Pope, the Church, and its priests are in danger. Russia will invade Europe with indiscriminate slaughter and devastation. Therefore, priests should be in the front line, defending the Church by their example and by the sanctity of their lives. Propagate the devotion to my Immaculate Heart as Mother and Mediatrix of the mercy of God for mankind and Queen of the universe. If sinners listen to my warnings and return repentant to my motherly heart, my mercy will be lavish for them, and they will find protection and salvation. If they do not do this, a terrible scourge of fire has been prepared, which will purify the world from the many and grave sins that like black shrouds envelop the whole earth. Rome, too, will be punished according to justice for its many and grave sins, because scandal has reached its limit. My daughter, make these warnings of mine known to everyone, and let men know that they must extricate themselves from the paths of sin and return sincerely to God, because very many are committing sins and very few are repairing. Pray and do not lose time before it is too late, because menacing clouds surround the earth, and the enemy is at the gate. O you, Holy Virgin, who have crushed the head of the serpent, guard our faith and the innocence of our little children. I salute you, I adore you, and I embrace you, adorable cross of my Savior. Protect us and save us. Jesus so loved you, and as he did, so I love you too. By your holy image, calm our fears,